So for the cameraman, does it bother you if I move? Okay, good. Inshallah. Where is Brother Shahir? Raise your hand. I don't see you. So Brother Shahir, my job is to set it up for you. So inshallah, I'll do a good job. Give me smileys or sad face if I don't do well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm hearing my own voice too much. Maybe it needs to be turned down so that I can focus. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Let me start by saying this. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your weekend and be with us this evening. Nothing brings joy and happiness to me and to the team and to the SOS team and to all of the brothers who worked on preparing for the convention. Nothing pleases us more and makes us proud more than seeing these beautiful faces with us. It is a tough subject when you want to talk about Syria. It's a tough subject when you want to talk about Syria. والله أنا هذا مبسوط عليه كمان. لا شغال ما عم تسمعوني؟ تمام؟ لا الصوت تمام؟ تمام. أنا ما بدي يعني بحب حوص بقى ما يعني بدي أقعد هون هيك بطلع هيك بتكربج كثير يعني. معلش مناسب لكم؟ تمام. The subject of Syria in a fundraising setup, it's almost like an oxymoron. It's such a depressing subject based on facts, but yet from that sadness, from that darkness, from that pain, we're supposed to find hope. And we will do that, inshallah ta'ala. But where do you start when you talk about Syria? I also noticed as I was greeting people, some folks who are not Syrians, maybe some folks from India or Pakistan and other places. So I want to thank you very much for your solidarity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. So when you talk about Syria, where do you start? Do you start talking about the over 7 million, now probably close to 8 million IDPs, internally displaced persons in Nazahin? These people have been displaced on an average 2 times. You know what that means? So somebody was living, for example, in Douma, and then they moved to Homs, and then they had to move again to Idlib or to another place. Now you need to take time and imagine if that happens to you. Do we talk about the over 5 million refugees that have been forced out of Syria? About 3 million of them are in Turkey, and the rest are in Lebanon, Jordan, northern Iraq, and other places, Egypt, and what have you. These people, they had their lives, they had their families, they had their properties. Wallahi, I have seen people, they were well off financially in Syria. Well off, as in rich. Not employees, people who own their businesses. They lost 100% of what they own. They came to Turkey with the clothes on their back. Just imagine and put yourself in their shoes and what they're thinking and the pain that they're going through. But yet, they have to stand up, keep their heads up high, face the adversity that they're in, find confidence, self-confidence in this whole terrible situation, and carry on. My dear brothers and sisters, when we face difficulties in the US, wallahi, if you get a tax auditor, right, you remember those days and you consider them the days from hell, right? And if the business goes down, I've talked to a business person in Dallas a few days ago. He said, my income went by 50%. And wallahi, I know people, and I'm one of them. My income in the last 5 years went close to 0.25%. But alhamdulillah. And wallahi, I have more responsibilities than I had before. Because now I have to take care of part of my family. Like, and alhamdulillah, we have to keep on. When we focus on something and we say we're going to accomplish, we have to keep moving forward. Do we talk about the 26 days after the so-called ceasefire in Aleppo, in our beautiful and beloved city, Halab? You all have heard. 26 days. 361 civilians were killed in those days. Over 27, I think 27. Bismillah. 26. 26 civic buildings, i.e. hospitals, schools, were destroyed in 26 days. You know what that means? One every day. Out of the 361 who have been killed in those 26 days, 96 of them are women and 55 of them are children. We're still in the 26 days. And over 16 massacres were committed by the Russians and by the Assad's army and his allies, Iran and Hezbollah. Facts, my friends. You can look them up. Facts. And all of this is happening, all of it. And our friends basically are standing there watching and feeling bad for us. A lesson that we have learned in these 5 years, and if we have not, then we have a problem. Syrians, we are on our own. If you wait until Mrs. Clinton takes office or Trump takes office with a D, and others take office and what have you, you're fooling yourselves. That doesn't mean we are not appreciative of the assistance, the humanitarian assistance that we have received from the US and Saudis and the Qataris and the Germans and what have you. That's fine. But you know what? That is their responsibility. That's their responsibility. They do have something called the responsibility to protect, and they are falling short of that. But yet, we believe they're standing there and watching. So unless and only when we reach this conclusion and we decide that if it's going to change, it's going to be up to us to make this change. No one is going to make this change for us. Let me talk about something else. If somebody can close the door so we don't get the noise creep in from outside. And then we talk about our brothers and sisters from Syria. And I'll tell you, there are 4 or 5 things that it seems to be a repetitive theme. We have to be very careful. And Dr. Saleh has alluded to a few of them. People talk about, yes, hopelessness, desperation. And people talk about being scared that if I donate, I'm going to get in trouble. Or maybe one day I want to go back in Damascus or go to Syria or what have you. Some folks, not a lot, second guessing this revolution. As if somebody said, let's do a revolution, and then, whoops, we made a mistake. Probably one of the beautiful things about this revolution, that is not a single entity, not a single organization, not a single party, not a single what have you, can claim that they have ignited this revolution. The people of Syria, you decided that enough is enough. On this particular point, there are no regrets. And you know what? A master usually, when he has a regretful slave, returns to the farm, you know what the master does first? Do you think the master will give him a big hug? The sister, she's saying, absolutely not. I'll tell you what the master does in this case. Because Assad sees Syrians are his slaves. So when you go back and you decide that you want to live with him, the first thing he's going to do, he's going to sit you somewhere and he's going to beat you up to make sure that those who have not risen up against him, they don't think about it again. Because he's going to make a lesson out of you. This is the mentality of slave masters. And this is what they think, and this is how they see us. There is no regrets for this revolution. This revolution is a natural thing. And luckily, and with Allah's blessings, no one can claim and take credit for it except the Syrian people themselves. Alhamdulillah. And then you get people among the Syrians where they are confused or they insist on being confused. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, we're not an easy bunch to organize, right? I mean, we're difficult. We're smart, well educated. Both our, alhamdulillah, our men and women, mashallah, very impressive. At the same time, there has been things I've said. Shukri Quwwatli Allah yarhamu in the past. What did he told Abdul Nasser? تمام قال له هي تركت لك الشعب السوري نصهم أنبياء ونصهم زعماء. I have given you the Syrian people, half of them are prophets and half of them are leaders. That's our view of ourselves. So what does that make? We have to be more sophisticated to organize. That all it means, by the way, that doesn't mean we're impossible. It just means that we have to work harder because the person next to us is a sophisticated individual, is a smart individual, and we have to treat him as such and speak to that intellect and not undermine his abilities and convince him. And when we do that, wallahi, I feel it and I see it, and I'm going to give you an example. We will do miracles. Now, maybe I painted a terrible picture, but that's the reality. So I chose the topic. All of that was not the topic of the day. So I thought we should talk probably about being resilient. So when I looked it up with Sheikh Google, I found two definitions that I like, and I read a little bit more, and I found the definition is consistent. So he was not like basically pulling a fast one on us. So when we talk about resiliency, you're talking about one thing is the ability of an object. One is stretched to come back to its regular form. And that definition of basically what we describe in physics and those who are scientists here, elasticity. But then they describe also resiliency is the ability to recover from a difficult situation. And that's toughness. Look it up. Actually, if you type in definition of resiliency, it'll be one or the second results. Conveniently, Sheikh Google put it there for us. So if being resilient means that we have to be tough, but how do you achieve resiliency? Because we need it today. Today the picture is bleak, it's dark. What do you mean you want to work in Syria? Those people are fighting بستين حيط. They're just having so many issues. They're not even talking to each other. Somebody has to translate fighting بستين حيط to these brothers. There is no way I can attempt it. Where do you start? So what we do is we accept the reality of where we are. You don't try to deny it. We don't stick our head in the sand and say, oh, no, this is not happening. It is happening, my brothers and sisters. It is happening. That's the reality of it. Okay? Now we know that we are in deep trouble. What do? You've got to go down. Now look for that faith, right? That you have been trained to fall on every time you had adversity. You have to find it. And you have sometimes to look hard for it because the situation is really difficult. So you have to look for that faith within you, something to pull you up. And then when you do that, you have to improvise and take actions. This is how resiliency works and how it is achieved. In the Harvard Business Review, a study in January 5, 2015, when people asked, what reserve do you go to achieve resiliency? 90% of the respondents said, do you want to guess? From me. 90% of the respondents, they said, I achieve resiliency from the reservoir that I have. Once again, when we look for solutions, we will have to come up with them. We don't look for others to provide these solutions for us. And frankly, this is what the Syrian Forum is all about. The Syrian Forum with 6 institutions, you have talked about them, and we have not mastered in our videos and PR materials the art of tickling emotions. We sound like a matter-of-fact type of organization. You know what? Because this is who we are. We want to look for solutions for real problems. Wouldn't it be nice that when you donate $1, you know that it is literally, materially, before Allah's hasanats, and we know that we are going to get, because we believe in that it can be multiplied 30 times. 30 times. Anybody who's able to turn $1 30 times business-wise, we're able to do that in Ihsan. Ihsan's for Relief and Development, it has itself about 550 employees. 500 are inside Syria, about 50 of them in Ghazi Antab. The organization costs us about $1 million a year. You know what this year will close in terms of projects? These are schools that we have repaired, lands that we have cultivated and planted, and crops will be collected, and places for women and children, and what have you. The total value of these projects inside Syria this year, inshallah, will close between $27 and $30 million. Last year, and you have the annual reports on the table with you, last year we closed $21.9 million. That, my friend, is significant. When you donate traditionally meaning somebody come and stand up in front of you, and it's a winter season, and he says we need to buy 100,000 blankets, right? And let's, for Pete's sake, say that they're going to cost $100,000 and you pay $100,000. I guarantee you, I know this business very well. What's going to happen is, at best case, $75,000 will be spent. Because there is something called administrative cost, and that is real, and it's needed, and it needs to be paid. I am not against it. But what you should do now, going forward, is say, no, 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 no. Because others have done it, maybe you don't want to donate to the Syrian Forum. We want you to donate to the Syrian Forum, don't take me wrong. But if you decide to donate to some other organization, put a condition. I'm going to give you $1,000. How much services, what is the impact of this $1,000 is going to be? In our case, we make the case very strongly, and we have 3-year statistics on this. We will turn that $1,000 to 30. It's called, in the language of this industry, the human relief industry, humanitarian relief, it's impact. What can you do with this money? How we did it? Going back now to the concept of resiliency. We have brought Syrians from inside Syria, and we have invested in them in 2013 and 2014, and we taught them how to prepare projects, proposals, and search for grants. And now we were able, alhamdulillah, to apply for grants on a regular basis and serve Syria far more efficiently than for me coming back to you and say, I have 1,000 acres that I need to cultivate, and I need to raise from you $500,000 or whatever the number is. That's far more effective. And I hope I made the case here clearly for Ihsan. That's why you don't see me talking about, I can talk about our agricultural project, about schools, about protection centers, about water projects, and what have you. And alhamdulillah, we have a lot of it. And you have seen the numbers that flashed by you so quickly. I don't know why we have designed the video like that, but it's about 60 million beneficiaries this year of how much time? Oh, ya Allah. 5 minutes, ماشي. So alhamdulillah, that's ihsan. But look, it gets better and a little bit more exciting. Up until 2014, we and a group of Syrian businessmen, just like many are in this room, people were coming to us in Turkey. Those refugees who left Syria and now in Turkey, they need a place to live, they need food, they need to send their kids to school. They have all sorts of needs. And just like anybody else, we were helping as much as we can. We have realized at the start of 2014, we can no longer sustain that. It's not sustainable. No matter how large the pile of money that you have or you can accumulate, there is not enough money to satisfy the needs of the people. So what we have come up with, and the person who came up with an idea, by the way, is a Syrian from Syria, and he's from Deir ez-Zor. He came to us and said, I have this idea. Let's start employing Syrians. Let's start finding them jobs. And we invested in that idea. And I remember the first 2 months, I told him, go give it a shot. And we've opened in a very popular, poor neighborhood, and we were after laborers, quite frankly. And he came back after 2 months, and he said, here is what I have done. And I told him, now you move to an office. Now we're going to take it to a new level in 2 months. I'll make the long story short. Since June of 2014 until September 30th, 2016, we have placed 6,370 Syrians in jobs in the Turkish labor market. It gets better. Wait. At an average salary of 1,300 Turkish lira. Remember, when you find somebody a job and we monitor him for 3 months and we assume that this person khalas, stayed in the job. At an average salary of 1,300, take up your calculator and punch in the numbers. Multiply it by 6,370, you'll come up with a number in Turkish lira divided by 3, you'll get $33 million. $33 million that we brought into the Syrian community. Imagine if I have to come and raise from you $33 million. Ooh, ouch. It gets better. Okay, now show me some excitement. This is the punchline. You know, or do you know what is our annual cost for this $33 million? Give me a guess. I have 100,000, I have 1 million, and 300,000 is the correct number because this statistics is based out of Orpha office, and the Orpha office for Rizq cost us $300,000. But look at the volume of impact that you get out of that. Now, Boosle comes in and trains on languages, train on other things, preparing those job applicants to enter the market. Fanar comes into the play, works with their kids on sports program, what have you. Alhamdulillah, we have built a what we believe an integrated program that truly focuses on the development of the Syrian people. And like our dear brother Dr. Saleh said, if the day of judgment is here, and you know that you are certain, this is the key, that it is the day of judgment, and you have a seedling in your hand, you know, a twig, something that you can plant, and you know under normal conditions it will grow. You know what you are supposed to do? You're supposed to plant it, knowing that the day of judgment is there. Let me tell you, my friends, we are not responsible for the results. We are, however, responsible for the actions, for the work. وَقُلِ اعْمَلُوا. مو وَقُلِ اعْمَلُوا إذا بدكم، أو إذا جاي على بالكم، أو إذا ما عجبكم غسان، أو ما عجبكم وصفي، بشتغل وما بشتغل. والله إذا يعني هدول الناس كلهم عم يسرقوا، هدول ما بنعرف المصاري وين عم تروح، ما الله أعلم شو عم يساووا، فوتونا ب60,000 حيط، مشان شو؟ So we can refuse the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا if these conditions happened or are realized. He said وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا. You have to work. You have no choice. Under the worst of circumstances. No wonder, no matter how the situation is gray, you're supposed to work. You're supposed to do something that you know under perfect condition will make a difference. So do it when the situation is not so perfect. And I tell you that if we do that, wallahi, come and see the results for yourself. Come and see it with the Syrian Forum. Come and see it with Rizq. You will see that firsthand. Thank you very much. I had other things to say, but I do appreciate your patience and your lending me your ears. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you, Brother Shahir. I hope that I did a good setup for you for the fundraising, and be generous tonight, and don't give Brother Shahir too much hard time, because I took half of his time. Thank you very much.